Hello, we are talking to you today about the recent trip I did through QUT. One of the opportunities that was offered to me to teach in a third world country, and I picked for the Philippines one, which I was super stoked about. We got placed in Tacloban City, which is in the eastern Visayas of the Philippines, and we went through CIS Australia, who worked through a small organisation known as Volunteer for the Visayans, who put us in our placements, gave us the schools. Like, we had the opportunity to work with the Department of Education over there with our schools. And our schools weren't, the flashy schools. We were traveling up to an hour and 40 minutes every day to get to our rules placements. And it was quite an overwhelming experience, but definitely quite a worthwhile experience, as I'll go through later on. Hello, we are talking. So, with regards to our placements and where we were in the Philippines, it's really worth noting that in 2013 they were hit by a massive typhoon, one of the biggest on record for the Philippines, and that death toll hit about 6,300, and it really hit the Tacloban people hard, and and just to see how far they've come from that really hard time just shows the resiliency of the people there. And the locals, they call themselves the happiest people. The Tacloban city is known as the home to the happiest people, and you can just see it through every day. And it's just, while we were on placement, it was key to remember that these people did experience quite a horrific incident, and while we're on placements, and even just talking to the locals, we have to keep in mind their background. We have to keep in mind that they've just had trauma recently, and that's something that we had to adapt in our teaching styles, adapt to just our lifestyle when we were talking, trying to get a understanding of where they came from, trying to get the background information on your students. And it was a struggle to, sort of work your way, but it was a worthwhile experience, something that you could take back home, really. So I had the pleasure of being placed at Kahumayumayan Elementary School, which was an hour and a half south of where we were staying. So I had to wake up at, let's say, 5 a.m. every day to get to school around 7ish. Had to catch a jeepney to Tanawan, and then catch a tricycle, which you'll see some footage of in next slide. But I was really happy to be placed there. It's Kahumayumayan itself, the word means rice field, and when I was there, I just look out the window and go, wow, I am in the middle of a rice field. And I had no real resources there. Didn't have computers, didn't have whiteboards, didn't have all the fancy projectors. I was just sort of thrown into the deep end somewhat, and it was quite a challenge that I had to overcome. As I'll get through later, but I was teaching math to grades 4, 5, and 6, and I was teaching kids who barely know how to speak English, and then I'm basically teaching them math, and it's like a whole other language to them on top of English, and I'm teaching them math in English. So it was quite a obstacle to come over, but I got over it. I started to get comfortable by the weeks going on, and just to see the students have almost nothing, but they come to school every day. Every kid was there every day. They had a smile on their face. They were so happy to be at school. They were so eager to learn. And it was so inspiring for me as a teacher, honestly. And I just will never forget just the absolute look on these kids' faces as I'd walk into the classroom. They'd be so excited. They're so excited another face has come to their school to teach them, and it was just so inspiring. When just talking to the teachers there, it was really interesting to hear how their stories, why they became teachers in the Philippines, why they work, because a lot of them didn't live where the school was. They lived in a town about 40 minutes away, but they came to school every day, and they were telling us, how they're under-resourced, don't have the opportunities sometimes to give the students what they want, but they make do. They were it's so inspiring. Just seeing how every day, every morning they would all get the whole school together and they'd do Zumba and they'd do some dancing in the morning just to make a community feel there. And it was just so good to see, like, of this school with the whole community. They were all loving each other. They were all committed to each other. And I think that's why, it's important to build relationships, is what I learned. You gotta build relationships with the students, you gotta build relationships with the parents in the community, you've gotta be a part of the community, and you've gotta find activities and ways to do that. And when we started joining in on those morning activities, the kids loved it, the kids opened up to us more, and that, stuck in my head. It made me think like, oh, if I start putting effort into like the other kids' stuff, they're gonna, want to be there. They want to talk to me more. They're gonna not be as shy, and that's something to take away for myself personally from that, as in my profession, that I need to, make an effort better to, get involved with the students so they can just feel comfortable around me. So I had So just in this slide, there's just 4 videos. One's just, how we had to get to the school by the jeepney. The second one's just us walking into school, what it looked like from the outside. Our third one is them in the morning doing their dances, really feeling like a community, all being together. And the last one's how small the staff room was. That's all they had, that was their staff room. Not much in there, not many resources. It was quite interesting. This trip has been quite a impactful trip for my future profession of teaching. It's just shown me so many things, like teaching math to non-speak, like ESL students. That's something I will be doing back home, and I've learned that math is hard to teach to someone who doesn't understand English. You have to adapt it, you have to change the words used, you have to use more concrete examples to get their attention, and also how to deal with students who suffer from trauma. It's hard. You've got to work around that. You can't brush it aside. You have to realize that is a big part of what happened to them, and you've got to address it. You got to work around it, and you got to make sure that classroom is an inviting place for the students. And also, just the whole idea of rote learning, memorizing and then going and doing a test. That doesn't always work. That's something I've learned through that. In certain situations with certain content types, it can work, but what I learned when I tried not using that method over there was, the students are more engaged. The students want to learn, and that's what you could all ask for, honestly. And I think the last thing I learned is, intercultural competence. Understanding students who come from a different culture to me, how to teach them, how to work with them. How to build relationships with them. Build relationships with people who are scared of you initially. Being a person from a different country, it's quite confronting to them, and it's something that you got to remember. As a teacher, to some people, you're the big bad boss, and you've got to build relationships with the students, and that's something I will probably always remember. from this trip. It's been quite a good experience.